Imagine Europe in the year 1347. Life was simple for most, revolving around family, faith, and farming, but all of that was about to change. A terrible sickness was coming, a sickness that would become known as the Black Death. The Black Death was a plague unlike any other. It struck swiftly and mercilessly, leaving a trail of death in its wake. People lived in constant fear, unsure if they would be the next to succumb to the illness. From 1347 to 1352, the Black Death ravaged Europe. It spread like wildfire, jumping from town to town, country to country. No one was safe from its clutches, from the poorest peasant to the wealthiest king. The plague's arrival marked the beginning of one of the darkest periods in human history. It was a time of unimaginable suffering, death, and societal upheaval. The Black Death originated in Asia, likely carried by fleas living on rodents. These fleas, infected with a deadly bacterium traveled along trade routes, unknowingly carrying the plague with them. One of the most significant trade routes was the Silk Road, connecting Asia to Europe. As ships laden with goods sailed from the east, they unwittingly carried the plague-infected rats. In 1347, Genoese trading ships arrived in the Sicilian port of Messina. These ships unknowingly carried infected rats, which quickly spread the plague throughout the city. From Messina, the Black Death spread rapidly throughout Italy and then to the rest of Europe. The plague spread was aided by several factors. Overcrowding in cities, poor sanitation, and a lack of medical knowledge created ideal conditions for the disease to flourish. The Black Death was a terrifying disease marked by gruesome symptoms and a high mortality rate. It manifested in three main forms: bubonic, pneumonic, and septicemic. The most common form, bubonic plague, was characterized by painful, swollen lymph nodes called buboes. These buboes, often appearing in the groin, armpits, or neck, would swell to the size of an egg, turning black and oozing pus. Pneumonic plague, affecting the lungs, caused coughing, fever, and bloody sputum. This form was highly contagious and often fatal. Septicemic plague, the rarest and deadliest form, attacked the bloodstream, causing fever, chills, and organ failure. The Black Death was a swift and merciless killer. Many victims died within days of contracting the disease. The plague's death toll was staggering. Historians estimate that it killed between 75 and 200 million people in Europe, wiping out 1/3 to 2/3 of the continent's population. The Black Death's impact on Europe was immediate and devastating. As the plague spread, fear and panic gripped the population. People abandoned their homes and fled to the countryside, hoping to escape the disease's grasp. Cities and towns became ghost towns, their streets littered with the bodies of the dead. The sheer number of dead overwhelmed burial grounds, forcing mass graves to be dug. With so many dead, the basic functions of society ground to a halt. Trade and commerce collapsed. Farms lay abandoned as farmers succumbed to the plague. Food shortages became widespread, leading to starvation and further death. Governments struggled to maintain order amidst the chaos. With so many officials and leaders dead, maintaining law and providing essential services became impossible. The Black Death had a profound impact on religious beliefs and practices. Many people saw the plague as God's punishment for their sins. Churches overflowed with terrified people seeking forgiveness and protection. Some turned to extreme forms of piety, engaging in self-flagellation and public displays of penance. They believed these acts would appease God and spare them from the disease. Others questioned their faith, unable to reconcile the suffering around them with the existence of a benevolent God. The plague also led to an increase in anti-Semitism. Some blamed Jews for the disease, accusing them of poisoning wells or conspiring with the devil. This led to persecution and violence against Jewish communities across Europe. The Black Death had a profound and lasting impact on European society. The massive loss of life led to significant labor shortages. Peasants, now in high demand, gained bargaining power. They demanded higher wages and better working conditions from landowners struggling to find workers. This shift in power contributed to the decline of feudalism, a system where peasants were tied to the land and obligated to work for their lords. The plague also led to changes in art, literature, and music. The Black Death became a recurring theme, reflecting the era's widespread fear, uncertainty, and preoccupation with death and mortality. The plague also spurred advances in medicine. Doctors and scientists began to study the disease, searching for its cause and a cure. While they lacked the knowledge to understand the plague's true nature, their efforts laid the groundwork for future medical advancements. The Black Death, while a horrific chapter in human history, ultimately contributed to the transformation of Europe. The decimation of the population and the collapse of the feudal system paved the way for new economic and social structures. The rise of cities, the growth of trade, and the emergence of a new middle class can all be traced back to the changes brought about by the plague. The Black Death also left an indelible mark on the European psyche. The experience of living through such a devastating pandemic shaped people's views on life, death, and the world around them. It forced them to confront their own mortality and question long-held beliefs about God, fate, and the nature of human existence. The Black Death, though centuries in the past, continues to fascinate and horrify us today. It serves as a stark reminder of the devastating power of infectious diseases and the importance of public health measures. Studying the Black Death provides valuable insights into the social, economic, and cultural impacts of pandemics. By understanding the past, we can better prepare for and respond to future outbreaks. Furthermore, the Black Death highlights the resilience of the human spirit. Despite the unimaginable suffering and loss, people found ways to rebuild their lives and societies. Their story is a testament to the enduring power of hope and the human capacity for adaptation and renewal. The Black Death was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the course of European history. It brought unimaginable suffering and death, leaving an indelible mark on the continent's social, economic, and cultural landscape. But amidst the devastation, we also see stories of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring human spirit. Remembering the Black Death is not just about understanding the past, it's about learning from it. By studying this devastating pandemic, we gain valuable insights into the power of disease, the importance of public health, and the remarkable resilience of humankind.